the stupidest ruler in history. His reign lasted only 4 years, but during that time he managed to drive the entire Roman Empire into madness. On the first day of his reign, he abolished all taxes. When the treasury was empty, he began to give out salaries in ordinary pieces of paper with his personal seal, assuring that they were equal to gold. 12 times he sent troops to ravage his own cities, only because the inhabitants refused to sell food for this money. He believed himself to be a sun goddess, trapped in the body of a young man, wore women's dresses, forced everyone to address him as a woman, and yet officially had 5 husbands. Moreover, he paid guards to rape him, and if they refused, he raped them himself. During the years of his insane rule, the empire's territory was almost halved, and once he ordered to boil the ruler of a neighboring state and fed this dish to his family. His name was Heliogabalus. Heliogabalus was born in 203 AD in Syria. His real name was Varius Avit Bassianus, but everyone knew him as the high priest of the god Heliogabalus, the local sun deity. He grew up in a religious family, and no one could have predicted that this boy would one day sit on the throne of the Roman Empire. He went down in history as one of the worst rulers of the great empire. After the murder of Emperor Caracalla, Macrinus came to the throne, but Heliogabalus's mother decided that her son should rule. She revolted in Syria, bribed the legions, and at the age of 14, Heliogabalus became emperor. The legions in the east believed, some were bribed, some by promises of wealth and glory. The people were surprised. Instead of a stern warrior, a tender teenager in silks. Imagine, a boy from the outskirts of the empire, and the entire Roman Empire at his feet. The little emperor didn't know where to start. He didn't like politics, the army, finances. He liked to have a party. The first thing he did was to abolish boring old laws, ban boring ceremonies, open his palace for fun, and declare himself a sun goddess. He also told everyone to call him a woman. The young ruler's first decision was to abolish all taxes. The people rejoiced until the treasury was empty. Then, Heliogabalus came up with the idea of paying officials and soldiers with papers with his personal seal, assuring them that it was just as valuable. He even ordered to mint symbolic coins with the image of the sun and himself in a female form. Naturally, no one wanted to accept this money. When people refused to sell food for paper, the emperor began sending an army to plunder his own cities. Imagine Roman legions burning crops, killing the inhabitants just because they wouldn't accept the emperor's leaflets. So he attacked his own cities 12 times. Heliogabalus thought he was a sun goddess in the body of a boy. He wore women's dresses, jewelry, painted his face, and made the courtiers address him as a woman. At court, he put on theatrical performances where he played the role of brides and his husbands played the role of grooms. Later, he would begin to openly refer to himself as empress and sign papers in the feminine gender. One of Heliogabalus's most scandalous pastimes was paying guards to rape him, and if someone refused, he raped them himself. Historians argue, is this just madness or a conscious destruction of all the norms of Rome? Or maybe it was an attempt to show that before him there were no boundaries of power. While he was partying, the empire was crumbling. Riots, raids, land seizures. In 4 years, the territory was almost halved. Roman senators grabbed their heads. The emperor behaves like a theater actress. But the people of Rome most of all pissed off not fun, but the fact that the emperor does not care about the affairs of the empire. To appease Rome, his family forced him to marry. He married 3 times, first to a Roman aristocrat, then to a priestess of Vesta, which was a gross violation of the law, and finally to a young patrician woman. But all this was not a relationship, but a masquerade. He quickly grew cold to women. "I am not a husband, I am a wife," he used to say, and from that moment on, he openly declared his interest in men. His favorites were dancers, slaves, wrestlers, and even circus performers. The most famous was Heracles the charioteer, whom Heliogabalus called his husband. He didn't just give them love, he showered them with titles. One former slave became a prefect, another a senator. A circus man was made proconsul. Rome could be ruled from the emperor's bedroom. To entertain the public, he invented lotteries. Guests pulled scrolls that could contain palaces or dead animals. The emperor's desire to laugh heartily went so far that the unfortunates, when they got drunk, were locked in a huge cage with hand-trained bears, leopards, and lions, enjoying their fright through secret eyes. Heliogabalus threw the most extravagant parties. Wine flowed from the pools, rose petals fell from the ceilings, sometimes so many that guests gasped. Food floated in the pools on golden bows. For the emperor, life was not politics, but theater. The priests in Syria once predicted his violent death. He laughed, but prepared. Of course, it was considered shameful for a legitimate emperor to die by the hand of a stranger. So ropes of silk were placed all over the palace to strangle himself. He also prepared poisonous vials of precious stones and sharp golden swords to stab himself in case of fatal circumstances. In the dungeons of the palace, he kept a carved sarcophagus, an urn, and a silk shroud. "If it happens, let it be beautiful," he used to say. Even his own death he turned into a spectacle. One day, the ruler of a neighboring tribe came to Heliogabalus. After the feast, he disappeared. Rumor has it that he was boiled and served. The 4 years of Heliogabalus's reign were a real shock to Roman society. His eccentric behavior, open promiscuity, and disregard for tradition caused increasing irritation among citizens and nobles. Eventually, patience broke down. A conspiracy was organized. The story of Heliogabalus is one of the strangest and most controversial pages in Roman history. Was he a madman, a provocateur, a victim of his own power? Or are all these myths invented by his enemies? The answer will never be known. But one thing is certain: the 4 years of his reign still provoke controversy, surprise, and even fear. The empire survived him, but the lesson remains. Absolute power in the hands of an unprepared person can destroy not only the state, but history itself. If you were curious about this episode from the past, support the channel, put a like and subscribe. And in the comments write, what moment in the history of Heliogabalus struck you the most? It'll be very interesting to read your opinion.